Getting the Deal Done podcast, and I'm John Martinka. And today we're going to talk about what is the most important question a buyer can ask a business seller. And the answers, of course. Jessica and I are working on a new book. It is titled Exit with Style, Grace, and More Money, which, by the way, is a term we recently got trademark approval on. And in the first chapter of the book, we cover in detail reasons for selling. So, why are you selling? Is the question. And let's face it, a wrong answer can eliminate good buyers. And if the answer is, and you see this on all kinds of ads for businesses for sale, to pursue other interests, the first thing any buyer at any level thinks is, that's baloney. And I really don't mean baloney. So there's bad reasons for sellers, and they're not necessarily good for buyers. And that's something that's happened to the business. It could be legal issues. I can remember a conversation from years ago. The owner of a business was referred to me. He was in a panic. Contract manufacturer, 90% with one customer. The customer got a new CEO. The CEO said, I have a friend that does what our contract manufacturer does. We're shifting our business to his firm. 90%. Could be a bad business decision. A deal I worked on a long time ago. Company in Seattle decided to go and move into Portland. It wasn't going well. They doubled down their efforts to make things worse. They bought a piece of real estate at the absolute peak of a real estate boom. They didn't want to cut their losses, and they ended up selling their lucrative Seattle business for enough money to get out of Portland. Oh, and the supplier can provide the same kind of risk. Ken was client multiple times. First time was because as a distributor, he had too many eggs in one manufacturer's basket. The manufacturer was growing and said, we're going with a larger distributor. You'd think Ken would have learned his lesson, but no. Maybe 5 years later, 7 years later, I get a call from Ken. Same thing. He had got some new clients. He had diversified. One was growing. He grew with that company. Company did the same thing. We're going with a larger distributor. Pulled the rug out from under him. He didn't learn his lesson. So bottom line, a bad reason for sellers and even for buyers can be summed up by they've lost their competitive advantage. Now, I don't want to work on distressed company deals. 4 and 25 years is enough. So let's shift to what are good reasons for the buyer. And, that happened to the seller. The 3Ds, divorce, death, and disability. But it could be a health issue. It could be a dispute issue with the partner. Not necessarily all catastrophic, but the more catastrophic, the more urgency, they have to sell. So what is the absolute best reason for both buyer and seller? And it is, and this is what we concentrate in our book. The seller says, I started planning 5 years ago to sell the business, and now the business and I are ready for my exit. And they will explain they've got their financial house in order, accurate statements. They have hired and retained great people. They are delegating, so they are not involved in the day-to-day. They've been growing consistently. They've documented systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here are some other good reasons. Burnout. It just has got to be too much over the years. The company has outgrown the owner for multiple reasons, not just the number of employees they're managing. Too many moving parts, etc. A friend of mine, about 5 years ago, got an offer from a PE firm that was just too good to pass up. Life happens. I've seen deals where something completely out of left field happens to the owner's family. their situation. I always come back to the lady who, with a special needs child and some other things, put both her parents in a nursing home one weekend. A couple months later, both died a week apart, and she just basically, throw up her hands. I can't do this anymore. I need a break. And then there's retirement. And a client said to me a week or so ago, well, when they ask why you're selling now, just say 70. You just turned 70 and felt it was time to start exiting. Little sidebar question that buyers and sellers should want to have happen is as prep the employees, prep the management team employees. The bigger the secret, the bigger the surprise. And the bigger the surprise, it's going to lower the trust level and leave unhappy people. I have seen numerous situations where management people were not brought in and they say, why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you have faith in me? So the most important question a business seller can get and a buyer can ask needs to be answered. I started planning 5 years ago to sell, and now the business and I are ready. This is John Martinka. Thank you for tuning in to the Getting the Deal Done podcast.